Oh my god, this is gonna be the dumbest idea ever, but somebody said it on Twitter and it was such a brilliant, genius idea that I had to do it. This guy said, why don't you make a multi-part series where you go through every anime you've ever dropped and explain why? Which is a grand total of 763 anime. This will take forever. I'm not gonna do it in one video. We'll do 100 a video, let's say. I'm gonna speed through these because the fact of the matter is that a lot of shows I drop. I mean, we're talking about. I've been on Mal for 10 years, and I mean, I made the account and already had all the anime I'd seen up to that point. So this accounts for an insane amount of my anime watching history. A lot of these I dropped in one episode, so like remembering why I dropped it is gonna be a tall order. And for that matter, like there's a lot of shows I've dropped that aren't on this list, because if I dropped something before finishing the first episode, I won't even list it. Or like if I really wasn't paying attention, like you know, it happens all the time. So this isn't every show I've ever dropped, but it's every show I've ever watched at least a whole episode of and dropped. So, you know, whatever. Let's just get to it. Let's get right to it. Dot Hack Liminality. This was an OVA that came with the first Dot Hack game. Or like one episode came with it. There was one episode per game. I watched it. It was super boring, and I hated it, and so I never watched the rest. '07 Ghost. This is like a Pretty Boys action show, I believe. Like, I think it was just kind of a generic. Yeah, like you can tell, it just looks really generic, and it seemed like I wasn't the intended audience for it. It seemed like it was, you know, meant for if you want to see Pretty Boys. 11 Eyes. This was just like a trashy visual novel adaptation. So, you know, fuck it. Who cares? I don't even think I finished the whole first episode of that. Maybe I did. I don't fucking remember. Apparently it was an OVA. Didn't know that. Or no. Am I looking at it? No, okay, that's a TV show. 12 Side. This one was, this is an OVA. I covered this in Finish or Fail. It just wasn't interesting. 6 Angels. What the fuck is this? It looks like Better Man. This is the same character designer as Better Man? It must be. Kaito Hiromi. No? It looks exactly like fucking Better Man. Well, I literally don't remember this. I have no fucking idea what this is. It's got a 4.51 rating, so it's probably not very good. So that's probably why I dropped it. 91 Days. Okay, here's one that a lot of people liked. I didn't even dislike this show. I watched the first 2 episodes, and I thought they were okay. It was just kind of... It was a show that had, like, good moments, but then a lot of it was just kind of awkward, and it felt like... And this is kind of the biggest criticism the show got, was that it just feels like any gangster movie, but it's not as good as a classic gangster movie. So it just feels like, what is this giving me that I couldn't get by just going and, like, watching The Godfather or Scarface or, like, a fun gangster movie like a Guy Ritchie film or something? Just, like, what am I getting out of this particular show that seems like it's just trying to pay homage to all these gangster films, which is not a genre I'm into anyways. I'm not a big gangster film guy or anything, but like, it just felt like a worse version of those kinds of shows. And like, the few anime-ish elements it did have felt like were the worst parts, where like it gets a little too ridiculous, and it was like, this feels out of touch with the tone that it seems to be going for. So, you know, I don't think it's bad at all. I just didn't feel the need to finish it, which is what a lot of my drops are. Not like, I hate this show, I'm not going to watch it. It's more like, this seems okay, but I've got 1,000 other things to watch, and this is not going to be one of my favorite shows, so let's not even bother, you know? Alright, we've got Ah My Goddess. I'm sure I watched this like 10 years ago, and it just felt like, you know, a pretty standard rom-com magical girlfriend show. So I know it's one of the classic ones. Like, it kind of probably originated a lot of the stuff about that genre. But Abunai Sisters, I mean, this is legendary for being shit. When I watched this pretty sure there was only one episode. Like, we thought it was a one episode thing. I don't know where it got 9 more, but Abunai Sisters is, it's known for being bad. Excel World. So I watched the first half of this for The Plebe and the Weeb, which will be coming out soon. Jesse's editing it, and this is episode 1, I think. So you'll hear my thoughts on Excel World pretty soon with Mother's Basement and Endless Jess. So, look forward to that. But, I mean, it's shit. It's a dumb, shitty light novel show, just like any other you could point to. It's full of contrivances, plot holes, dumb characters. It's boring. So, yeah, I couldn't finish it. But you'll hear all about it before too very long. Active Raid, I think I covered this in Finish or Fail. It's just kind of really weird and almost hard to follow because it's so all over the place. And it just wasn't interesting enough to hold my attention. After War Gundam X. This one is an odd one because I watched 9 whole episodes of this because it's the kind of show I really wanted to like, but it's just kind of too boring. Most Gundam shows are a little bit more exciting or fast-paced. This one had felt like it was going nowhere, and a big part of why I wanted to watch it is that it kind of feels like a precursor to Eureka 7. Like, the main guy and the girl that he's kind of in love with are both very similar to Renton and Eureka, but they just have no personality compared to those characters. These two were just kind of really boring, and I was not excited to watch them continue their adventure. So, yeah, I just kind of gave up on that one after a little while. I know some people really like that show, but God, Agatha Christie's Maid Tante. I mean, this is just like some kids' detective show based on Agatha Christie, which is like a classic series of children's. I'm sure I watched it just because it was a show that came on at the start of the season, and so I watched an episode and went, well, this isn't my style. Agukaru. Oh my God, I totally forgot about this thing. This is like. And yeah, it's like an agriculture, like, informational OVA. Like, this, if I remember correctly, this is like the kind of thing that would be shown in a classroom, is like the nature of it. It's got some really cute character designs, but I mean, it is a nothing show. It's not a show. What's this? This looks like porn. Aishimai Futari no Kajitsu. Yeah, this is probably porn. I probably just didn't like it that much. There's lots of porn that I just don't finish because, you watch one episode, never get around to the others because they're OVAs. They release once every 6 months, and most of them are kind of shit. So, it's rare that I even finish a whole episode of an anime porn. Aiyori Aoshi, this is another, like, just straightforward, like, rom-com, sort of not magical girlfriend, but it's along those lines. Just like a guy. The main point of this show is that there's a beautiful girl, and I'll tell you, in all of the artwork of this show, she is unbelievably gorgeous. But in the actual show herself, it's pretty average looking. It does not live up to its concept art, which is true of a lot of those early 2000s, like show about a like rom-com but with the like a perverted rom-com, let's put it that way. Like, most of those have incredible character designs until you watch the show. Aika R16, this is just like a trashy spy movie fan service show. I thought it was dumb, didn't enjoy it. Air Gear, this is a show about fucking people on roller skates and shit, and it's got like Linkin Park sounding OP and stuff. I know that for some reason, I know this anime like doesn't go anywhere from what I understand. Like, I don't think it completes the manga, and I know there's some people who really, really love the manga and the guy who created it, like, for, I don't know, apparently it's like totally different from what you would expect or something like that. I don't know what the deal with it is, but I just remember watching the first episode and thinking it was whatever. Air Master. This one, I actually would like to watch more of this, because it's an interesting show. It's kind of like a trashy but knowingly trashy action show about just like this girl who fucking beats people up, and it's like the fight scenes are really well choreographed, but the show is ugly as sin. Like, it has the ugliest character designs and animated in an ugly way, but then when the fights happen, they're kind of cool, but they're also like a total clusterfuck. Awesome ending song by Maximum the Hormone, who's one of my favorite Japanese bands. What even the fuck is this? Aishen Kaoling Ki. This is one of those Chinese cartoons. This was the one, the Trouble Chocolate or Cupid's Chocolate. Yeah, it's like just it's a generic harem show except it's Chinese. Aishiteruze Baby. I think this is a shoujo thing. Yeah, it's just like a guy taking care of his little cousin girl, I guess. I don't fucking remember this. I made it through 2 episodes, apparently. God knows when. Um, I have no idea. Yura, this is like 3-minute short episodes. I watched the first 2, and they weren't really funny or engaging. The artwork is fantastic. Like, it's got beautiful backgrounds, really cute character designs, but like nothing was happening, and I was like, oh, I don't care. Oh, I guess I only watched 1 episode. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't grab me. Didn't grab my attention. Weird ass OP though. Very strange OP about crabs and Steve Jobs. If I remember correctly. Here we go. Akahori Gedo Our Rabuge. This is, yeah, if I remember correctly, this is 2 different shows. It's like 2 like 12-minute shows that are part of like a block. I don't remember what either one is about. Like, I'm looking at this picture and I don't remember any of this. I think I just thought both were lame and didn't care. So yeah, I don't really remember what actually happens in it. Akai Hayate. What the fuck is... Oh, yeah, this is from 1991. So you'll remember that I, a couple years ago, tried to watch every anime from 1991 as part of an effort to put together a top 20 of 1991 list. I didn't finish that. I will eventually get around to it, I hope. The thing about making those top lists is that it takes a long time. Same reason, I mean, with Your Movie Sucks, he does that, but, you know, he puts out 1 video every month or 2, and I put out videos constantly, so putting aside a lot of time to work on one of those lists has never panned out for me, but maybe it will in the future now that I've changed the way my Patreon works and stuff. But in any case, this is just some 1991 show that clearly I didn't like enough to continue. Akame ga Kill. This is the goofy, edgy, over-the-top action show. I didn't hate this. Like, a lot of people really, really hate this show. I thought it was funny at first, like, because it's very, like, overwrought and over the top with its edginess. Like, it just goes, the mood swings are insane, and it's just trying to be, like, as edge as possible. But then at some point I just thought it wasn't cool enough to really hold my attention. Like, you know, the action scenes aren't that good, and the just the kind of edge it has, I don't know. I wanted it to be more cool, but it wasn't that cool. Akatsuki no Yona, I made it a decent distance into this show. Akatsuki no Yona, for me, like, is just held back by the fact that it kind of prioritizes shoujo cliche over its story. Like, I know a lot of people have praised this show for being like, you know, there's a strong female character and she develops over the course of the series and you watch her go from weak to strong, and I'm like, I get that out of a lot of shows. There's a lot of this genre of, like, girl on a fantasy adventure with shoujo trappings. You know, you've got the 12 Kingdoms, you've got Red River, which is a manga, Basara and stuff. Like, they all have similarities in their presentation, but this one just Fushigi Yugi is probably more similar to this. Like, the way that the series is set up, like, so much of it is just to play into this, like, this cutesy love triangle, and these, like, the action scenes are really bad. Like, characters, the main characters are just indestructible and will take out waves of enemies, and, like, the way that scenes play out just doesn't make sense in terms of the action. Like, it's just not carefully directed or anything. It definitely prioritizes the shoujo over the fantasy. So, oh god, like, it ended up feeling a little bit more cliche and a little too slow moving for me. I think I talked about it in a Finish or Fail, so I don't know why I just went over it at such length again. Akiba 0048. God, I watched 5 whole episodes of this. I think the reason this is dropped is because I don't remember those 5 episodes. Like, this is a show with a batshit insane premise, which is that it's, like, about these idol freedom fighters in, like, a post or a dystopian world where, like, culture is outlawed, and they're trying to bring it back through idol singing, but they're also like the re-embodiments or the successors to the real life idol group Akiba 48, and it's a sci-fi thing. I remember like the premise was exciting, and it's kind of it's fine as like an idol show, as like a cute girls, overcoming obstacles and growing as people show, but like it's just pretty boilerplate in that regard. And yeah, I think like a year had passed since I'd watched those 5 episodes, and I didn't remember anything about them, and I was like, I'm never gonna get around to finishing that show. Akiba Strip the animation. This one seemed like it's charming, but I didn't think it was that funny. I watched the first episode, and it just was like, it was very much on the border between being watchable and not watchable for me, and it just wasn't quite there, and I didn't end up continuing it, especially because I was bothered by the fact that they didn't have Akio Watanabe's designs in the anime, because he's my favorite character designer, and he did designs in the games. What is this? Akihabara Denogumi. Cyber Team in Akihabara. I literally don't remember watching the first episode of this. Did I even watch I feel like this might be a show where I watched a random episode at some point for some reason, but I don't remember what the context was. I have literally no idea what that show is. Akuma no Riddle. This I watched for the Yuri. It's like an edgy mystery death game Yuri show. But it's just not very good. Like, I watched 5 whole episodes, and not one of them that I really think was good. It was like always just barely power throughable, and then at some point I gave up. Aldno Zero. I have chronicled why I dropped this in the old vlogs, the Digi Does Anime vlogs. It's fucking dumb and lame. It's just all exposition dumps, weak ass characters. That show was when I was on the cusp of starting to realize I hated A1 Pictures. That was one of the contributing factors to my realization. Alexander Senki, or Reign the Conqueror, as it was known on Adult Swim. I have marked 2 episodes. I don't remember actually watching a single full episode of this show. So this could just be that at the time I was misremembering it, because I really don't remember watching a whole episode of this, but it came on Adult Swim, and I just thought it was completely fucking lame. Like, I wanted no part in it. I think just because I couldn't get into Peter Chung's character design style, which, yeah, this is he's the one who did the designs of this, I believe. Did not know Rintaro directed this. I have no idea. I mean, it's got a pretty fucking low rating, so I think most people probably felt the same way I did when it was on Adult Swim. But Alison to Lilia, I remember this just not being interesting. Like, I think this is another one where the tone of it was something I wanted to like, because I think it takes place in like the 20s, and it's about pilots or something, and it kind of felt like it was going for a Kino's Journey kind of vibe, but it just was boring, and the characters were really lame, and so I dropped it. That would have been while it was airing, so that's why I barely remember it. Amato Inazuma, I chronicled this again in the Finish or Fail videos. Not a bad show at all. I just didn't feel the need to finish it. I mean, I was grinding through every show from 2016, and this one, I just got to a certain point where I was like, alright, I get the fucking point. I don't care anymore. Amagami SS, I don't get this. Like, there's people who really fucking love this show. I think it might just have to do with, like, finding the girls particularly hot, which I don't. I don't know. I thought it was mediocre. Amagi Brilliant Park, made it 5 episodes into this. It just never felt like it was going anywhere, and it bounces between, like, trying to be taken seriously as, like, a melodrama, and then also just being this utterly whacked out, goofy comedy, and, like, neither one was a great element, and they kind of felt like they were in conflict with each other, and I just, like, gave up. Amanchu, as covered in Finish or Fail, I was just passing out. The show's fucking too slow. It's too fucking boring, man. I can't sit through it. It's too fucking slow. Amatsuki, this one I made it fairly far into. This was a show I was excited about at the start because it has some really strong characters and an interesting premise, which is where these 2 guys are just like at this like exhibit. Like, basically there's a warehouse where they've recreated an ancient Japanese town, and like I believe they pass out there and they just wake up in actual ancient Japan, but it's like a magical version of ancient Japan where like gods are real and there's all this other shit going on. And I remember the main character being really charming, and it's fine, but like the plot was really going nowhere, and like the story was just totally uninteresting and generic. So like even though the characters were really fun, the show just eventually petered out when it was like, all right, this isn't going anywhere. And it was another one where it was like 13 episodes just to cut off before the manga that continues. Like oftentimes I will drop a show if it's based on a manga if it seems like the show is not going to continue, but the manga goes on for a long time, just because a lot of those shows, they just kind of peter out. Like you watch 10 episodes and then you're like, well, I'd love to know what happens next, but the show wasn't a success, so they're not making another season, you know? Which is why I dropped Noragami, and we'll get to that later in the list. And I might pick that show back up because it got a second season that's supposedly good. But like, I just get sick of shows that are like 10 episodes, go nowhere, and then it's just like, oh, go read the manga now. And why did I even bother with the show in the first place? Aneto Boin, this looks like porn. Yeah. I don't even remember this one. Probably why I dropped it. Aneimo. Oh, it's also porn. Great. So, didn't even look up my alley at all. Anime de Wakaru Shinyo Naika, or Comical Psychosomatic Medicine. This one is like, yeah, this is just like each episode they just kind of like detail a mental disorder and then joke about it a bit, and it just wasn't that funny. I probably watched like 2 just to check them out, but all right. And Happy. I talked about this in the Cute Girls, How to Distinguish Cute Girls anime video. This one, it's fine. It's just not enough to it. The characters aren't interesting enough. They're all very one note, and the show is just kind of like a goofy, hyper real, thing. It's all right. It's a Silverlink show. Yeah, something about Silverlink, every show they've made for me is like a 6 out of 10. Like, all of them. Or lower. Some of them are abysmal, but like nothing they've made, with the exception of Watamote, which I would give a 7. And I think that's largely because I just, there's that additional layer of connection with the character and with the manga, which I'd already been reading, and like, but all their shows are just like so middle of the road. I don't understand it. Like, they're not terrible. They're just right down the center for me. Anyways, Anohana. This is a kind of an unfair drop. I don't even know why I have marked 3 episodes, because I don't think I watched 3 whole episodes of this, unless I'm marking the unfair way I watched it. So Anohana, the funny thing about this, I watched the first episode and thought it was really fucking strong. Like, I was super hyped about the first episode of this, partly because it was the same director and writer as Toradora, so I was excited about that because I love Toradora, and I was kind of following the director at the time, Tatsuyuki Nagai. It was pretty good. But, like, the first episode was super solid, and then, like, a bunch of people I know got into it, and then I didn't end up continuing just because, as I do, I don't watch a whole show when it starts. My friend Ghost Lightning was watching it, and he basically said that by the second half, it just completely fell apart. Like, he was totally bored. He didn't care about these characters anymore. He thought the drama was hackneyed and dumb. So I was at his house, and he was trying to power through the last 2 episodes. And I'm sitting there watching it with him, and we're just kind of talking over it, and he's just like, this is so fucking dumb. Like, he was so mad at it. So I was like, dude, let's just play Slayer over it. So he just... we watched like the whole last episode with him blasting Slayer over all the characters crying. It was so fucking funny. We were losing our shit. And so I never ended up watching the rest of the show because like it just... the things I'd heard about it had tarnished it in my mind, and that experience of just making fun of it. Maybe one day I'll finish it just for the hell of it, but like I've never heard anything that made me think I'd actually enjoy it. Similar show from the same director, Tatsuyuki Nagai, Ano Natsu de Materu, which is a very standard like magical girlfriend, love triangle, romantic comedy show. This one, again, this is another one where it just kind of wasn't going anywhere, and I watched 7 whole episodes of it just on the strength of how much I loved this girl, Tanigawa Kano. She's super fucking cute, and I loved her, but she just has nothing to her aside from being in love with the main character. And that just really drove me nuts, that, like, all these characters have to them is their attraction to one another, and that is... I can't care about the characters if all they care about is another character who I also don't care about, you know? Like, it's one thing if they're obsessed with someone I think is cool, but this is what makes so many teen melodramas so fucking hard for me to watch, especially, like, Mari Okada ones, because she has a tendency to do that with the characters in her shows, but, yeah, that's why I couldn't finish that one. This was just really lame and boring. I don't remember watching 2 whole episodes of this, but yeah, it's a horror show, but it's really trashy and stupid. I think that this show is intended to be a comedy. Like, I think because it's directed by what the fuck is it? Tsutomu Mizushima, who is his, like, I mean, when you watch Mori the fuck was that show called from last year? The one that was really contentious that people, like, didn't get. That one was obviously a comedy. Like, it was all about subverting the idea that it was horror, and in the end you realize that it was always just a comedy. Whereas Another and Blood Sea, from the same director, are like, they're just schlocky horror stuff, but they play up the death angle to, like, an absurd degree, where, like, people die in really hilarious, stupid ways. So I think Another is meant to be, like, kind of a horror comedy, or at least it's intentionally trashy, but it's not my style or aesthetic at all. Ansatsu Kyoshitsu, I just thought this show was fucking annoying, because I hate Koro Sensei. I just think he's the worst fucking kind of character, that he's just a fucking meme. He's a living meme. And I just didn't think like, the whole first episode was just, like, non-stop exposition dumps and, like, going over the same shit over and over again. I've heard it picks up later. Both the manga and anime supposedly pick up. Maybe I'd watch more of it. You know, it doesn't seem super my speed, but at the same time, I generally like Shonen Jump stuff, so, you know, it might be worth another shot, but I definitely didn't enjoy the first episode very much. Aoharu Ride. This was just a, like, shoujo rom-com that came out. This was another one I covered in my old Digidoes anime vlogs. It just was pretty standard. Like, it's well made and all, but it didn't have anything that clicked with me that made me want to continue it, like, as opposed to watching all the other shoujo romances that I could be watching. Blue Exorcist, man, I loved this manga, but, like, I didn't read very far into it because I was reading it when it first came out, and, like, I think I read the first 7 or 8 chapters and really loved them. And then it was starting to get into, like, a narrative arc, and I just didn't end up keeping up with it because it was monthly releases in Jump Square. So, like, I didn't get very far in the manga, but then the anime came out, and I just thought they totally fucked up the art style. This is another reason I hate A1 Pictures, but this was before I knew that, because I wanted this show to be done by fucking Bones. I wanted it to be the Soul Eater team. Like, I thought that this manga totally deserved that exact kind of style. Like, just, you know, I was imagining it with, like, really pumped up colors and swagger, and then I watched it, and the characters just didn't look as good as the manga. Like, they looked more round and less edgy. The color design wasn't there, the directing wasn't there, and I was like, oh, this is fucking weak. So, yeah, I was really disappointed with that anime. I don't know, Kanata no 4 Rhythm, this was just a really dumb fucking show from a few seasons back. We covered it on the Weebcast. Oni the animation, this is actually surprisingly entertaining. I think I talked about this in Finish or Fail. Like, I just didn't feel like watching the whole thing because it's another horror comedy, which is, again, not really my style, but it is actually legitimately pretty funny. So if you're into horror comedy, I would recommend that one. Aoharu X Machine Gun, this was just like, it's an airsoft, it's like it's sort of a shoujo rom-com, but like with a little bit of a, like, gender bendy slant. Like, I think it was a girl who looks like a boy in this one, and she falls in love with a guy who runs a club. I don't know, it's pretty standard shoujo fare. Like, it didn't feel like anything I had to finish. SBT Lasner, this is a very classic old school show, old mecha show, and I just remember being bothered by the overall sense of like directing and finding it boring. I think this is the one with the fucking best OP ever, though. Yeah, Lonely Way. One of the most classic anime OPs. Great song. But yeah, I just remember being bored by it. And I think there was like a scene where someone was getting shot at for like 5 straight minutes, just like bullets going around them as they like talk and make decisions and stuff. And I was just like, yeah, no, this is annoying. Aozora Shoujo Tai. Oh, 801 Airbats. This is an OVA that my friend Marcus has on VHS, and he has like, I think he has just a couple of episodes, and we just like watched the VHS one day. It's just like it's an odd mix of like a fan service comedy and then also a like episodic military-ish adventure show. Very 90s, very like of its fucking time. If you like that kind of show, you might enjoy this one, like along the lines of like a Dirty Pair or something like that, or Bubblegum Crisis, but a little bit more trashy. Yeah, it's fine. Not worth watching all of, though. Where the fuck am I? Here we go. Arslan Senki. So this is the original Arslan Senki OVA. There's 2 different versions of Arslan, and both of them have problems, and that's why I dropped both of them. With the TV show, the problem is that it looks boring. Like, it just, the overall look of it and feel of its directing and everything just felt really middle of the road, and like, you know, I just wasn't that engaged by it, whereas the original looks fucking incredible. The visuals are like this high fantasy epic. It looks like the art of old Final Fantasy games or something, like some fucking Yoshitaka Amano shit or something. But the problem is that they like tried to cram too much into each episode, and it's almost hard to follow. Like, you really can't understand what's happening at parts because it's cutting so far ahead, and it just seems like you're missing swaths of time, and scenes just like run right into one another with no transition. So in spite of looking beautiful and being really well directed in terms of like shot compositions and stuff, it's just too fucking fast and you can't really follow it. So neither one feels like the best way to experience it. But maybe I'll pick up the TV show one day again. I know some people really love it, but Ashitano Joe, this doesn't even count as being dropped. I should definitely watch this one day. I tried to watch this 10 years ago. I had never really seen any older anime, like really old school shit, and this just was too old for me to handle. Like, just the artwork and especially the sound. That's the biggest hurdle for me with old anime, is the sound. Like, that it's all just really shitty, badly compressed, garbled audio that I can barely make out, and like shitty music and sound effects and stuff. Like, that's the hardest part about watching an old show. And this one's really old, 1970, so I mean, it's considered an absolute classic. So I definitely would like to give it another shot. I've gotten more used to older shows, but you know, it was a long fucking time ago. Asano Yoichi, this is just a pretty generic fan servicey rom-com kind of show, like action. This is an action fan service kind of thing. It's just like a hapless samurai dude. He's like a Rurouni Kenshin type guy, except surrounded by hot girls for some reason. Who the fuck cares? Avenger. This is a shitty B-Train show. That's really all I have to say. There's a girl with a gun. She fights. It's in like a weird desert dystopia world. I don't know. It's dumb and fucking shitty, just like everything else that fucking studio ever made. Bakuman. I had a clip about why I dropped this. I don't know if it ever came out, though, because it was in a video that I think I didn't release. But basically, Bakuman's my favorite manga, and the problem with the anime is that it just doesn't capture the feel of the manga. Like, it's too slow feeling. It's awkward. Like, hearing the characters talk in, like, regular anime guy voices, like, I really hate the voice they gave Mashiro. Like, he just sounds like some pouty fucking wimpy anime dude, and like, feeling that tone, and like it didn't do anything like interesting visually with it. It's just like a flat, boring, straight from the manga adaptation, totally unlike what happened with Death Note from the same authors, which is like way stylized and stuff. Not that Death Note's an amazing anime or anything, but I have heard that Bakuman gets better in the later seasons, that like the anime gets better, and I really like that they made like the anime spoofs, like they did animations of the manga that exist in Bakuman. Maybe I'll try the other seasons sometime, but like it's really kind of just disheartening to see my favorite manga not done justice. And in my experience, it seems like most people who really love the Bakuman anime just haven't read the manga. Like most people who seem to, like, every time someone's recommended it to me, I've been like, have you read the manga? And they've said no. So I don't know if it's the kind of thing that I only hate it because I know the source material and I feel like it's better. And it's a story about manga, so it should be in manga form. Bakumatsu Rock. This show is dumb as fucking hell, but it is really charming and hilarious. It's just like it's a pretty boys show. Like the whole point of it is that it's a bunch of beautiful men in this weird version of the Sengoku era where there's idols and rock music, and it's fucking stupid, but it's really over the top, and I don't know. I enjoyed my time with it, but it was the kind of show that, like, I would just be, like, for long stretches of episode, I just, like, haze over because I don't care, because it's just, like, cute boys doing cute things kind of thing, and then something really ridiculous would happen and make me laugh, but it wasn't enough to continue. Bakuretsu Hunters, or Sorcerer Hunters, this is a very 90s adventure fantasy show with a bunch of hot girls. I remember it being just not interesting enough for me to continue, but otherwise it's fine. That one, see, back in the 90s when you had super hot girls on the cover, they usually looked just as hot in the anime, and Bakuretsu Hunters is a good example of that. Bananya, this is just a banal banana show. It's a goddamn children's cartoon. Bartender, this is an odd one that I actually dropped, and maybe I'll pick it back up because I dropped this one just by sheer force of entropy. Like, I watched the first couple episodes. I don't even remember watching 3. I thought it was like 1 or 2, but I watched the first couple episodes like back in 2007 because I saw myself as really into the slice of life genre, and people are always calling this like the masculine slice of life show. It was like, oh, it's a guy, and it's for adults because all the characters are adults and they're dealing with adult problems, but it's just kind of like an episodic series where people will have some stress in their life, and then they'll come to this bartender, and this guy serves them a perfect drink to deal with that specific stress, and it sends them along their way just fine. And I always thought the show like just was the coolest like concept and aesthetic, even though the individual storylines are not that interesting, which is why I didn't end up continuing it. And I had it on hold forever, and then at some point I just went, I'm never actually going to finish Bartender, so let's just mark it as dropped and get it off my goddamn on hold list. But now that I'm a really big alcohol guy, I might watch the show and see. I mean, the thing is, like, I would say I'll watch it and make the drinks, but some of the drinks in the show are like fantasy level. Like in the first episode, he like smashes an ice sculpture to use the specific crystallized ice for the drink or whatever. It's like that sometimes. Basilisk, this is like a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing, but with ninjas and fighting. I just remember the first episode not being that interesting. There's a movie. Holy shit, I totally forgot about this. I don't know if the movie's also called Basilisk or if it's... What the hell it's called? There's a live-action film that's the same story. Like, it's based on a novel, I think. And there's also a film based on it. I don't know, it looks like it's a manga. Whatever the case may be, I saw that film, and I remember that was, like, okay. And then, the anime just... whatever. It's just some action show as far as I was concerned. Basquatch. This one's fucking weird. I also don't remember watching 2 episodes of this. Some of these might be that I rewatched an episode, because it used to be, with my anime list, way back in the day, you could mark above the number of episodes that are counted on Mal. Like, if it says 13 episodes is the max, you can mark 17, and I would use that to account for, like, when I'd rewatched partial rewatches of shows. And then I would also, like, if I watched the first episode twice, I might say I watched 2 episodes. So, because I was really concerned about my time being accurate, like the amount of time I'd spent that it marks on my profile. So I don't know if I watched 2 episodes of this or just the first episode twice, but Basquatch is a show about basketball in, like, a post-apocalypse with mechs. It's fucking weird. I don't know why I didn't continue it. I remember enjoying the first episode or 2, and then I think I just didn't hear enough good things about it to feel the need to continue, and therefore didn't continue. The only person I've ever known who makes reference to Basquatch is Nino, and I think it's just because it has black characters in it, and that's why he has seen it. Battery. This was a boring baseball show from a few seasons back. Wow, this got slayed in ratings. That is unexpected. The guy who directed this, Tomomi Michizuki, is good. I don't know how he fucked up so badly on this show that everyone hated it, apparently, but it was boring. Battle Athletes Victory. This is a... Wow, I got really far in this. This is like a dumb, cute girl sports show from the 90s. Very goofy, episodic plot lines. Very similar to, like, Yamamoto Yoko and other stuff of the... It's just a late 90s feel. Like, this is what cute girl shows were at the time. And it's alright. It's got some charm to it. It's got a huge cast of characters. I'm sure there's a lot of people who really like this show, but I just at some point got tired of it and didn't continue. Beelzebub. This is a long-running shonen thing. I watched the first couple episodes, thought it was okay. It was kind of funny, but then the jokes got repetitive and old really quick. I know some people who watch this, like, all the way through, and it's one of those that it's a roller coaster of quality. You know, different arcs are of different levels. Some great OPs and EDs, though. Really well animated ones. Bernard Joe Iwaku. This was from, like, 1 season ago. I did a finish or fail about it, I believe. Berserk 2016. This is just fucking pure enraging dog shit. You've probably seen the Digibros discuss comparing the original show to that one. It's an embarrassment. Better Man. This is a weird-ass fucking mech horror show from the people who were doing the King of Brave series, Gao Gaigar and all the other Brave shows, the Yusha series. And this one was like just a bizarre science-based offshoot. Like, it's a I guess bio horror. Like, everything is always couched in some kind of like weird biotic science, and it's odd because it simultaneously acts like a kind of a goofy kids show while also being this horrific science show, which is probably why it's not super popular or well known. But there's definitely some people who adore this series. It used to play on Tech TV before they got assimilated into G4. So I saw 4 episodes of it on Tech TV, and I just remember being like, what the fuck am I watching? Because it was like right in the middle of the show, and I had no idea what was going on, and I was just like, well, this seems interesting. But then I later watched episode 1 and just thought it was like, I thought it was okay, but I didn't feel like I'd like it enough to finish it. Big Order. This is just dumb fucking bullshit from the same creator as Mirai Nikki. Super hot main girl, but dumb, edgy bullshit. Bikini Warriors. This is just a show about girls in bikinis reenacting Dragon Warrior. It's fucking dumb. Binan Koko Chikyu Boebu Love. This is the Magical Boys show. I just didn't get the humor in it. Like, the first episode, it doesn't help that it was, like, largely based in a Japanese cultural joke that I just didn't get. So, like, that wasn't helpful, but I just didn't like the whole comedic style of the show. I just thought it was kind of, I didn't care. You know, people always talk up, like, Shinji Takamatsu, because they always say, oh, it's the director of Gintama, and so anytime he directs any other show, everyone's like, oh, it's from the director of Gintama. It's just like Gintama. But, you know, first of all, I don't think Gintama was necessarily, like, phenomenally directed. I don't think there's a huge noticeable difference in quality between the first 100 episodes of it, which is all he directed, and the rest of the show. And the source material is a lot of what makes it funny. I haven't really enjoyed like anything else Shinji Takamatsu has done. So when people tell me, "Oh, it's the director of Gintama," I'm like, I don't care. I don't think he's like an amazing comedy director just because Gintama happens to be great. Not to say that he didn't probably contribute a lot to it, but Gintama is great for a lot of reasons beyond the directing. Where was I? Binbo Shimai Monogatari. This is the poor sister's story. It's like a slice of life show about these two girls whose parents are dead, and it's like the older sister takes care of the younger one. It's pretty boring, and more importantly, the characters say each other's names fucking constantly, and I could not take it. That's all I remember about the show, is that the two girls said each other's names all the time, and it really pissed me off. Sailor Moon Crystal. This was just like a weird, uncomfortable feeling I had from the first episode of this, where like it just felt wrong, and I'd rather go watch the old show, which I still haven't, I've only seen the first 3 episodes of. I know that some people say this gets better later on, but like I know that a lot of Sailor Moon fans were not happy with that show. Black Bullet. This show's fucking hilarious. It's over the top, insane action about saving lollies. It's a show about saving the lollies. Which is great, and I legitimately loved the first 4 episodes. Like, episode 4 is incredible. You can see me and my brother Victor did vlogs on it back on DigiDoes Anime. Loved the first 4. Then the second arc, episodes 5 through 7, was just comparably nowhere near as interesting. Like, it just didn't have anywhere near as much stuff going on, and it was just kind of slow and boring, and I just didn't feel the need to continue. I wouldn't mind trying to finish this show, though, just because I loved those first 4 so much that if anything else in the show could live up to it, it would be worth it. But the second arc was just comparably really dumb. And I mean, the show is stupid as hell. Like, I love those first 4 episodes, but mostly for the just insanity of witnessing what's happening. Black Rock Shooter TV. I watched the first episode and it sucked. It was boring and way too melodramatic, and I just really wanted no more part of it. I loved the OVA, but and I think I was also mad because the designs look like shit in the anime TV series. Blade and Soul. This is just like a weird action adventure fan service kind of show. It's sort of along the lines of like a Queen's Blade or something, though not as fan servicey as that. It seemed competent enough. I made it through 4 episodes, but then I just was like, I'm not interested enough in the overarching story to continue. Blade of the Immortal. This is a classic manga that my cousin was a really big fan of, and it's best known for its extremely stylized art. B-Train adapted it. They did not make it stylized like the manga. This should have been a Madhouse show. Like, it seemed obvious that this should have been a Madhouse show because it would perfectly have fit with the kind of shit they were putting out at the time in 2008. But it was a B-Train show, and it looked like dog shit, and that's why I dropped it. Blast Raider. Speaking of looking like dog shit, I really want to watch this show because it's an Urobuchi Gen show, and I love Urobuchi Gen. I've enjoyed everything I've completed that he's made, but this show is so ugly, it's unwatchable. And also the first episode was like a confusing clusterfuck. Like, I don't know if it picks up later. I know it goes the way of an Urobuchi Gen show. Like, I know that much. So you know what to expect in the end, but it just looks so bad. It's this really awkward mixture of 2D and CG, and all of it's just all of it's ugly. Bleach. I don't think I need to explain why I dropped Bleach. I read most of the manga and I really liked it, and the anime just does not capture the look of Bleach. Like, I know some people have said that they think the anime is, really stylish and cool, and yeah, the OPs and EDs are really stylish and cool, but like the show itself, it's kind of wonky animation. I hate the color design of the show overall. It's just I don't know. I thought it was boring and shitty compared to the manga when it was on TV, so I didn't watch much of it. And I hadn't even read the manga for a long time till later. Like, I read it in like way deep into its era of relevancy, but no interest in the anime. Blood Sea. This is the other one, again from same director as another. It's just an edgy, violent, fucking boring horror show. Bloods. This is porn, right? Yeah, this is porn. This one's actually good. I don't know why I didn't watch the second episode of that. I remember it being pretty alright. Blue Drop. This was a Yuri show from 2007 that I think I was watching mostly for the Yuri. I should finish this because I remember that I thought it was interesting, but it was kind of slow paced and overly melodramatic, and I just wasn't into that at the time. So I think I just kind of got bored with it and dropped it, but it seems like it might be interesting. I mean, obviously, it's not exactly favorably scored for a Mal score, but, you know, it's interesting enough to be worth a second look. And I remember I had read the manga, and it had, like, nothing to do with the anime. Like, the manga was like an anthology series or something like that. Like, each story was something different, and none of them was related to the anime. And they were way more sexual. But yeah, Blue Gender. This show was on Adult Swim back in the day. I never really got into it. It's just like a humans versus aliens post-apocalypse war show with lots of dramatic deaths and stuff, and it just wasn't my style. Blue Seed. This one had 3 episodes, came on, I think, Tech TV. At some point, I just caught them on TV. This is a very 90s boy meets girl action story, kind of similar to like a 3x3 Eyes or Inuyasha or something, is the vibe I got from it. The first 3 episodes are like kind of like a movie, like it's like all 3 episodes kind of play into each other, but then I think I remember trying to go back and watch it again because I thought it was kind of okay when I saw it on Tech TV, and then I watched it again and I was like, oh, this is fucking dumb and lame, and so I didn't watch the rest. Bo. This doesn't deserve to be dropped necessarily. I just always figured I'd read the manga instead of watching the anime, but maybe I'll watch the anime anyways one day. Because it's great. Bobobo is just like mindless insanity. Like every episode is just, you don't know what you're gonna get. It's a spoof of shonen manga, you know, so it's just like barrels through tropes and makes fun of them. And it's a good time. I saw some of it on Cartoon Network, and I guess I probably just marked it as dropped because I never thought I'd get around to it again. But I'd like to. I'm sure it's good. Boku no Chikyu wa Mamote. Oh, Please Save My Earth. Yeah, this is an OVA from the 90s. It's one of those that's like kind of well respected, so I think I watched it just because I'd heard good things about it, and then ended up just being bored and didn't care enough to finish it. It's like a sci-fi romance. I don't know. I don't remember. I just know that it's something that some people like, but I didn't. I guess. Boku wa Tomodachi ga Sukunai, or I Don't Have Very Many Friends. This is a pretty standard high school romantic comedy harem show. It's all right. It's not hateable. It's just not lovable to me. Some people really like the show. My brother Shade loves this show, particularly because he loves this girl, who is great. She has a great personality. I think my biggest problem with this show is that the character designs are beautiful, but they're not drawn beautiful. Like, it's one of those where what makes the designs great is that they were so like over detailed, and like the light novel art, or like even this picture here, like you can tell the characters look gorgeous because of how much details goes into them. So when they're not that detailed in the show, and it's like trying to create a less detailed facsimile of the same look, it's just really ugly. But yeah, I mean, it's whatever. It's fine. Bokura wa Minna Kawaiso. I made a second chances board about this. I just can't. It's just too slow, and the characters aren't likable enough. Like, it's charming, kind of, and funny a little, and it's really pretty to look at, but I don't care about anybody in it, you know? Bokurano, this is actually one of my favorite manga, and I'd only seen the first episode back when it aired, and I dropped it just because it didn't seem interesting. Then read the manga and loved it, but I've always heard that the anime series takes strong liberties with the manga because the director of the show hated the manga, apparently. Like, he didn't like it, so he made it different. I don't know if that's like a mistranslation or if it's just like overly strong language that people have put onto this urban legend, but supposedly he didn't like the manga, and that's why the anime is different. But I loved the manga, so I kind of don't, and the anime kind of looks like shit, so didn't have an interest in watching it, knowing that. Beating Angel Dokuro-chan. This is a really dumb violence fan service comedy from the early 2000s. If you watched a lot of AMVs back then, you probably saw a lot of this show, but it is really stupid. What's next? And I think that's why I made it through 2 episodes. Like I didn't even like the first one. I just felt like this show was so ingrained into anime culture that I had to watch another episode, and now nobody remembers it. So Bonjour Sweet Love Patissiere. Well, it's obviously why I didn't watch this, because it's just like a reverse harem show. I think I probably watched the whole first episode just because it's about food, and I will watch a show about food if I even did finish the first episode. Because there have been shows that I watched, like, that I marked even though I didn't finish the first episode, just because I got, like, I don't know, a certain distance into it or something. I don't know. Yokaku no Senritsu. What the fuck is this? The Melody of Oblivion. Oh, okay. Yeah, so this is a show that was made a collaboration between Gainax and JC staff. It's what the writer of Revolutionary Girl Utena did a few years later. And it's similar to Utena in that it's like got really trippy visuals and way out there like symbolism and like all this crazy shit, except that this show doesn't have the art chops that Utena does. Like, the character designs look like dog shit in this show. And it's totally incomprehensible. Like, just what exactly any of it means is like alien, and the plot seemed really uninteresting. I made it through 2 episodes, I guess, and was just like, I don't know what I'm looking at here. Like, I kind of always wanted to finish it just because it's so fucking weird, and because it's from that author or writer, but Enokito Yoji, who's one of my favorites. But yeah, it's a fucking clusterfuck, and I feel like you can just go watch Star Driver or something and basically get the same effect, but with a better show. So why bother with this one? It obviously has not been beloved by time, but maybe one day I'd get around to finishing it. Brave 10. I don't fucking remember this at all. What the fuck is this? It looks like some fucking goddamn Sengoku bullshit. Yeah, okay. It's some Sengoku bullshit. I don't remember it at all. I don't even slightly remember that. Brotherhood Final Fantasy 15. Wait a minute, I finished this. Oh, you know what? I know why I didn't mark this. Because we watched this for Plebe and the Weeb. We watched both Brotherhood and the movie Kingsglaive, except that I didn't pay any attention to any of it, because I didn't know what was going on and I thought it was boring. So, and I was trying to write out this whiteboard, because I was preparing a lecture about Endless Justice content, which ended up having a fucked up recording and we couldn't release it anyways. But I was preparing my lecture, just not paying attention at all, and there's a very interesting twist on the Plebe of the Weeb episode we did for that one, which you'll all learn about when the Plebe of the Weeb actually fucking starts coming out and eventually gets to that episode. You'll learn about the bizarre twist of the Brotherhood Final Fantasy 15 episode. So I guess I just didn't mark that as completed because I didn't really think I'd watched it. Batum, this is another like edgy thing. It's just like a violence and sex kind of death game bullshit. Not my kind of show. I don't like it. Tokyo 20 Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040. I remember just being bothered by the directing in this show. Like, it felt weirdly claustrophobic, and like it was moving between plot points at a rate that I just didn't like. I couldn't really follow it. I didn't have anything to latch on to. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to care about. Like, none of the characters grabbed me immediately or anything, and I was just like, I don't care. Bubuki Buranki. I definitely talked about this in Finish or Fail, that it's a would-be fun show. It uses CG pretty well. It's well-directed CG. Like, it's got a lot of impact in its animation. It feels like a Trigger show, but with CG animation. But just the characters and plot took themselves a little too seriously for something as fucking childish as it is, and I just kind of got burned out on it. And Bungo Stray Dogs. This was one where it just felt like any other, like, detective group show thing. Like, this feels very old school anime. This feels like a show that could have come out in like any decade and it would make just as much sense then, you know? Like, just quirky characters doing mystery plot. They're all pretty boys except for a couple of girls who are all right. You know, I don't care. It's just I just don't care. It's not my genre. I just don't care. So that's it for the first 100. That took us an hour. So yeah, I guess this will be a 7-hour series in the end. Join me next time while I describe why I dropped every fucking show I dropped. The reasons are not usually very interesting. So we'll see you then.